Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Lash Extension Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tress, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the most important things to invest in if you are a day one beginner lash artist or at the beginning of your career, or if you're on a budget, which so many of us are and were when we started our lash career. And so these are the things from my experience and from Erin's experience that we would absolutely either go back and do differently, or the things that we were really happy that we invested in the beginning. And not all of it is necessarily asking you to spend a bunch of money to get like the highest end stuff, because that's what you should quote unquote invest in. It's literally the things that are going to serve you well for the beginning and rest of your career, and that are going to set you up for success. So Erin, off the top of your head, do you have one item? I'm putting her on the spot, you guys. Do you have one item that is more important than anything else that you would invest in if you were like on an island all alone and you can only have one and be a lash artist with imaginary people there? I don't know where this is going.
Yes. Well, a few of things, obviously. We'll get into more. But the
One.
first thing that I can only do one, I would say the thing that really changed my career, not only with the results that I was able to give my clients, but also the ease of me being able to do a really good job, was really, really good high quality product, particularly lashes and tweezers and adhesive. Those would be the first and biggest investment, is really great high quality product.
What if it was one product that was the highest quality and you could only get one?
You know what? I'm not even going to shit on Amazon tweezers, because some Amazon tweezers, like, sorry if you guys can hear the garbage truck going outside. Of course, it has to
We
happen in the
can't.
middle. Okay, perfect. um, some Amazon tweezers are really great nowadays, I will say. You don't have to have the highest quality tweezer ever, but they do make a really, really, really big difference depending on the technique that you're working with. Um, However, lashes and adhesive made the biggest difference for me, particularly living in Oregon. My environment changes so frequently that working with a really good and I am just blanking my brain today.
With a really great quality adhesive
Really
is
great
vitally
quality.
important. And Erin and I have had hours of conversations about adhesive in her environment. So I completely agree
Mhm,
with her on that part. Like, that is vital to your success, but that takes time to learn which one's going to be best for you. And it takes
mhm.
an investment and intention to learn which one's going to be best for you too.
What would be yours? If you could only choose
You,
one. If you could only choose one.
oh, thank you. Thank you for putting me on the spot like I put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
you're welcome.
I this might be really controversial because I should say adhesive for like health and safety and all of that stuff. But a good quality, like the proper light
Mm,
to lash by, is something that I did not invest in the beginning. And I went through, you know, more inexpensive light after light after light. Like, I still have some in my house from 20 years ago, that like some of the ones in the beginning over like the first 5 years. And really, I should have just gotten the flippin' light that I wanted. And I prefer a ring light.
yeah,
And that's a personal decision.
me
It
too.
doesn't, like, you don't have to have the most expensive light, but get a light that is meant to be a beauty light so that you can see those lashes from all angles, because it will mess with your vision, it'll mess with your quality, it'll mess with your retention, it'll mess with your attachment, it'll mess with getting stickies. Like, there are so many things that not having the proper light will do. And it's funny because I had one student reach out to me a little while ago, and she asked me, she was like, it like on the left outer corner, so the left eye outer corner, and she's right-handed. She's like, I'm getting terrible retention over there. And we troubleshooted, we went through everything. We went through how fast her adhesive cures, because if it cures too fast, by the time you get it all the way over to that opposite side,
Mhm.
that can be a problem. And we troubleshooted everything, and I finally came down to, did your light change in the last like month or so? And she was like, how on earth could you possibly know that? And I was like, okay, so then I asked her what light she was using, and it didn't cover the lashes from every angle and from side to side, and it was darker on that side, and so she
Mhm.
wasn't getting as good of attachment and she wasn't getting as good of retention, and it was because of her light. And she was like, I
Yeah.
can't even believe it.
Yeah, because especially if you're right-handed working on the left outer corner, then if you're working with a light that doesn't cover the entirety of the lashes, then your hand is naturally going to cast a shadow on that outer corner, and you're literally going
Mhm.
to be very limited in your visibility. So you might not even be able to see the base of that extension attached to that natural lash, and you could potentially get, stickies and baby lashes in there as well.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I've never heard that opinion from anybody else, but I think it's just because I personally struggled with it for so long. And I was like, okay, now I've invested in the amount of lights
Mhm.
that I probably invested double or triple in lights trying to like makeshift something. It's like buying makeup, right? Like if you buy high quality makeup that you know you're going to love, you'll use it every day. But if you keep going to Target and you just buy foundation after foundation after foundation trying to find the right one, you might as well have just invested in the good stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, it's really true too because when I first started lashing, I was lashing. Oh my God, I could just throw up thinking about this. But I went to a garage sale. Actually, it wasn't even me, it was my parents. Went to this garage sale and they had like a side lamp that's meant to be next to your couch, like in your
Yup.
living room. And because it had like the way that it was kind of a desk lamp. So it kind of had a little bit of an arm to it,
Uh-huh.
but it had like a 60 watt, like warm, like a soft light bulb that you
Yup.
get at Walmart. That's a screw-in bulb, right? Like that's meant for your house. Like it goes in your overhead, like a 60 watt bulb. And that's what I worked with when I was working with my clients for
I'm
like
looking at mine
solid
in the
3
other
months.
room right now because it's in
Mhm.
my office. I had the exact same kind of thing. Bad. And it didn't
Awful.
work. It was fine, but wasn't good.
It wasn't LED and it wasn't white light, which I would recommend
Mhm.
white light,
Agree.
yellow light, even if you are working with an LED. Like my ring light goes to a warm setting, and I would never work on a warm setting because it
Never.
definitely, yeah, it
It like
definitely
blurs, it
limits.
softens things.
It softens everything, especially, and it makes my eyes feel much more fatigued because I'm having to focus a lot more and
Mhm.
strain to see more, especially up close across the lash line. So, white light LED, I love that suggestion. I would also add to that I would invest in a really great ergonomic stool for your equipment. My back is so effed up from not working on a proper like ergonomic stool for my neck and my back. When I was first starting lashing, I was working on, first of all, it was a wooden kitchen chair that would like
Ooh,
a
ouch.
dining room table chair. Doesn't that just kill you to think about? We were roughing it in the back day in the olden days, in the back
Uh-huh.
days. We were roughing it back then. But I would say from there, when I was like, okay, now I have to get a better chair, a better stool that rolls, because at that point I was like, I just need something that rolls so I can pivot and I can move around from like my cart to my client. But from there, I ended up just getting like a regular tattoo stool, and it was flat on the top, and I got it at like TJ Maxx, I'm pretty sure, and it was just like a flat rolling stool. But because it was flat, my hips weren't able to round, like they were rounding at the base because my pelvis was fixed. So like with a saddle stool now, it allows my lower back to straighten, which allows my upper back to straighten. The more rounded that your spine is ergonomically, and the more that the surface that you're sitting on is a fixed, flat surface, the more your back is what has to give in order to make any sort of pivots and adjustments and shifts. So the less that your body has to move in order to make accommodations to get the right angle and the right visibility, that is a very high quality investment that I would make. Eventually in the future, obviously this isn't day one, but in the future I would also recommend investing into a electric massage bed, so that way you can adjust your client to you, not your client, or yeah, adjust your client to you, not you adjusting to your client. Obviously that's down the road, but that was also one of the biggest investments that I made. That was a solid investment later.
I totally agree. I've never made that investment because I've always kind of been bouncing all over the place. But when I first started learning lashes, it was in a salon that did have electric
Mm.
massage beds. So they weren't esthetician chairs. I don't like esthetician chairs. But it was like a massage bed. And so you could like put their head up a little bit without it being like they're in a recliner, and you could like put their
Yes.
knees up so that they're more comfortable. And yeah, I agree with that. That's really good. But again, a down the line investment.
Down the line investment, but ergonomic everything, including, I mean, maybe Tress would agree with me on this. A high quality mask would be something that I would prioritize too
Girl, that
from
is
day
what I
one.
should have said.
You
How
guys, if
did
you
I,
guys didn't know this, Tress is extremely allergic to lash adhesive,
dude?
like so allergic to lash adhesive.
Yeah, it's next to me. I'm gonna grab the mask to tell you guys. If you are, I know some of you, I know you guys, I know some of you listening to this have had the conversation with me, and you will
Mhm.
know who you are, telling me that you need to find other options because you just won't wear a mask. And I'm telling you, it's your health that is at risk. It's your health that's at risk. Like, if you're willing, I love you, but if you're willing to take that risk, I'm not anymore, because we
Mhm.
didn't know in the beginning, but we know now. And you need to protect yourself from the fumes of the adhesive, even if you're not somebody who's allergy prone like I am. Like, I'm highly sensitive. So is the rest of my family. But that doesn't mean that there aren't negative side effects that can come with inhaling fumes like this all day, every day. So I'm going to grab that mask so that I can
Mhm.
tell you guys the one mask in the whole world that I have found that I actually love.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, like you just said, like we weren't taught this in the beginning, like adhesive safety and understanding the fumes of our adhesive. And nowadays, our adhesive has gotten a little bit better than how it was, 5, 10 years ago. But back in the day, because I mean, I was never taught adhesive safety until like 3 or so years ago. In one of the previous episodes, I was explaining that my respiratory system is significantly impacted to this day because of years and years of abuse of not protecting my respiratory system with working with high fume adhesives. And so now my throat, my respiratory system, my nasal cavity, my throat, and even into my chest is it's constantly dry, and I constantly am like clearing my throat. So if you hear me like constantly like it's because like that my respiratory system is constantly messed up, and my vocal cords are really affected by it now too. So my voice gets really weak really quickly, and I can't project nearly as much, and it's a whole thing in my respiratory system from my nose to my chest, from not protecting myself from my adhesive fumes for years and years.
It's important. And
Mm.
before you like, if you're newer to the industry, before you like freak out and think, "Oh my god, this is a toxic job. I shouldn't be doing this." It's really not. Like, we have the means to protect ourselves, and our clients come to see us for a little bit
Mhm.
every once in a while, right? If we are a full-time lash artist or even a part-time lash artist, because I was a part-time lash artist when I became allergic to adhesive. I was an esthetician. I wasn't even doing lashes full time. Um, that's something that is, we have the ability to protect ourselves. Also, I'm keeping a running list of these things. So if you're like in the car driving, or if you can't take notes right now, at the very end of the episode, I'm going to list them off in order of what we talk about, what the major investments we would make are, and like what the priority level is there. So
Mhm.
this mask, if you can write it down, or if you can come back to this episode, it is a 3M mask. It is comfortable. It has foam and wire on the inside, around the nose, so you can like have it form around your nose. And then it also has like a fitted chin sort of area, so it like folds open. It is a 3M Aura, AURA, 9205 plus NIOSH. It is also an N95 mask. But before this mask, I was actually wearing a respirator mask. So I was like the Darth Vader girl of the lash world. And I actually like they would have, like big, what is it? Like the
Oh,
big,
no, it's a true paint respirator. Like
yes,
it's for
yep.
tiny molecules, and it's extremely heavy, and it's very not ergonomic for your neck looking down.
Mhm.
It weighs your neck down even more, and it puts a lot of strain on your neck and your back. Yeah.
So this mask that is like super lightweight, and it has like really soft elastic that goes around the back of your head instead of around your ears. Like I had to wear one that went around my ears a few weeks ago because I forgot mine for a photo shoot. And I was like so upset. I was like not a happy camper during that last shoot because my ears hurt, like because my glasses were on them and then this was around the back too. So this is the most comfortable and my like the most symptom free mask that
Mhm.
I have ever worn. I think I spent $17 on 30 of them, buying them in bulk on Amazon, and 100% worth it. You have them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely, say a mask was a really great investment. Is there what's your next one that you would say would be for a day one lash artist or a lash artist on a budget? What would be another one?
For me, my next one would be quality tweezers, but quality tweezers can come from a lot of places these days. When I
Mhm.
say quality tweezers, I mean tweezers that pick up the lashes consistently and have a great sweet spot. So, like, I have some of my favorites. And if you're interested in knowing what they are, just DM me and I'll tell you about them. I have some of my favorites. I know Erin has some favorites. But I struggled with basically crap tweezers for a really long time and just thought that I wasn't a very good lash artist and that I just needed to practice for years and years and years, and then I got my hands on a really good quality tweezer and I was like, shut up.
It makes the biggest difference.
Life isn't this hard.
Yeah.
And that was shocking for me. The other thing is you have to take care of your tweezers really well. Do not ever
Mm.
put them tip down in sanitizing solution. Get like one
Oh.
of those like nail drawer caddy things where you set them in there horizontally, like lay them down to take a bath. Don't like dive them into the pool.
Okay,
Because
so can I add to that really quickly? Because
please.
even with that, oh my gosh, years and years, almost a decade into my career at this point, I learned that I kept denting my tips of my tweezers and I was like, "What am I doing? Like, I'm not leaving them in for longer than 10 minutes. I'm not dropping them." Like, I'd never drop my tweezers. So how do my tweezers kept getting ruined? It's because I was
What?
putting I, okay. I
Okay.
had the biggest epiphany. It's because I was putting it in my little drawer sanitizer, the ones that you lay downward, like what you
Mhm.
were just explaining, not the jar of Barbicide. I was putting it in, but what I was doing is I was putting the tips towards the end, not towards the middle. You need to make sure that you put the handle towards the very end where it's going to hit the wall of
Mhm.
the sanitizing little drawer that comes out, and make sure the tips are facing the center of your drawer.
Wow,
Because whenever
yeah.
you rinse them, it was, like, gently, ever so gently and slightly tapping against the wall. The very tips of my tweezers was tapping against the wall of my little drawer that came out of my adhesive, Lord have mercy, my, disinfectant, my Barbicide thing, and so I kept ruining all my tweezers, and I just realized this, like, less than, like, 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Okay, so
Mhm.
number 4 is tweezers.
Forest tweezers, yes.
What's your
So
next one?
I would say my next one, um, I want to touch on education because I feel like that's a really important one to touch on. But
It
I
is.
want to dovetail that. So, what do you feel like with education? Do you have an opinion on education and what to invest in first?
Erin, I have opinions about everything.
I
I
know
feel
that's
like
why I want to
we
hear
know that
it.
by now. I
I
have
want to hear
opinions
it.
about everything. Okay, education.
Start us off, baby.
Yes. Okay. So A, investing in education is vital. I don't know if this is the direction you wanted me to go with this right away, but too much education isn't helpful.
Mm,
So
speak
I
it, sister.
temper education with find education that is reputable, that you can have contact with your educator afterwards if you have questions or need something. I don't necessarily mean like forever ongoing full on mentorship because that you would pay for. But that you can ask questions and have contact with them after and make sure that there are people who have many people that have gone to that training and really felt like they got their money's worth and the value worth. That's something that's near and dear to my heart, always has been, always will be. I put my all into the trainings that I have done and
Yeah.
I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
And they're still not comprehensive. They still can't teach you everything, but I digress. So find education that is reputable and many people are happy with and that you can keep in touch with your educator afterwards. And the other thing is Um, hold on, I blanked out for a minute.
Finding education that is like specific to your skill level, I feel like is really
Yep.
important.
Oh, too much education isn't good. So
Mhm.
I know many, many individuals who have invested in training after training after training after training.
Yeah.
But that mental knowledge won't do you any good until you have the physical knowledge and the physical skill set to move on to the next training.
Oh, yeah.
So I temper the investment of education with, once you get education, go home and put into use everything that you learned and get everything you can out of it, in order to make sure that the next time you invest in education, you are actually able to level up your skill set instead of just gathering more knowledge while you
Mhm.
don't have the physical output yet.
Yeah. I 150% agree. That and like I said, I think that it's really important that you choose an educator, you choose a course that is at the skill level that you are at, um,
And not significantly above.
and not significantly
Mhm.
above. I remember when I was first, learning lashes, I had taken a class straight out of beauty school. It was my first class, and, it was, like, I learned with 2 straight tweezers. We were picking up lashes from, like, the middle of the strip, like, anywhere that you could pick up a lash and just, like, pop it off. It wasn't from, like, the right side to the left side. She was literally like, "Wherever you can pluck this lash, dip it into your adhesive on a tin foil or, like, a jade stone." It was, like, back in
Yeah.
those days.
Oh, it
Um
makes me sad.
Mhm, and then we would plop it onto the natural lash, right? And
Sure.
we
Plop.
were plop, literally plop, I'm
I
pretty sure those
know.
were words, and it was, like, 0.25, like, it was a whole different era, right? But, like I said, I was working with 2 straight tweezers to apply classic lashes, that's how I was taught, with an awful lamp, as we have learned. So it was just it was way harder than it needed to be. But from there, my next course that I had taken was learning mega volume and the flower bouquet technique. Not and it was like it was to say challenging for me, it was incredible. Like it was a
You did
great
such a great
course.
job.
Oh, it wasn't with you. It was like
Oh, okay.
years prior, but
Great.
I had ended up taking another course and it was incredible. I learned so much from that course, very valuable, but it was way above my skill level to go from 0 to 100. And so
Mhm.
I feel like looking back on that, I could have gained so much more knowledge from that course had I have been able to um connect the dots in a more seamless manner. When I went from 0 to 100, I feel like there was so much in that course that I was like, I hit capacity within the first 10, 15 minutes of being in that course with theory. And the rest of it was like way going over my head. And then I had to rely on my notes. And I feel like I could have just learned a lot more and taken a lot more from that course after the fact, and implemented a lot more should it have been up to my skill level at that point and at that level in my career.
Do you feel like in any way that ended up being like self-sabotage? Like, do you feel like, because I'm thinking from my perspective, I've experienced a lot of students that have taken trainings well beyond their skill level. I haven't really. Like, I had 3 main trainings in my career. I had my beginning, I had my volume, I had my mega volume, and they were all many years apart actually. And so I don't feel like I actually like skipped and did that, but to me, if I put myself in your shoes, I would have felt like a terrible lash artist because
Yeah.
I was out of my depth. Do you feel like that happened to you?
I certainly had put in a lot of practice and I was doing volume fanning and I was working with ultrafine diameters by myself and I was just like practicing with them beforehand. So it wasn't completely foreign concepts to me.
Awesome.
However, I caveat that with saying that I definitely feel like I overestimated my skill set. And I think that that's really easy to do for everybody because we think that we're way more advanced or like we have the capacity to do things like on level 100 because we're like, of course we can. Like we're absolutely capable human beings and we are really, really um, creative. We're really, what's the word that I want to say? I want to say able, but I just said capable. Like we are
Yeah.
I can't think of a better word. We're very capable of being
Mhm.
able to learn and adapt and evolve, right? However, I feel like for myself, even though I was capable of learning those techniques, I definitely feel like it was kind of like instead of doing like a one stair and then a one stair and then a one stair step up, I definitely feel like I was taking like five stair strides. And that was essentially injuring to me for a little while in my career until I was able to do more research, practice, implement, and like kind of connect the dots a little bit more, but I wouldn't say that it was self-sabotage as much as maybe just overestimating where I was at with my skill level. Um and I've learned nowadays, which I think is just like an age thing potentially. I think that like wisdom later on, as I've grown as a lash artist, but also in life, I think that there is a lot more emphasis for me, a lot more value being put on small steps, like taking one step at a time up a staircase rather than trying to take the fast route and like just amplify everything that I can and add mega volume to my menu immediately and like just do things at 100 times speed. I've learned that there is such wisdom and value in taking things slow and having a slow burn and really being able to sit with and internalize and master a craft rather than just trying to go as fast as I can.
So good. You guys rewind that and go listen to it again. Maybe make it your mantra.
It
That's
made it
so
seriously,
important.
it makes the biggest difference. And as lash artists, we already have a really quick burnout rate in this industry. We have a really quick turnover rate. Unfortunately, with lash artists in this industry, the life cycle of a lash artist and the beauty industry in general is unfortunately very low. Like there's not a lot of lifetime life cycle shelf life of lash artists in this industry, and I really feel like a lot of that is because of burnout. And when you have a slower burn and you put more intention into every micro movement as a lash artist and mastering the craft and paying attention to the details and mastering the details and making it something that's almost an intimate experience for you rather than like I just want to make as much money as I possibly can and that means that I'm just going to add everything to my menu as fast as I possibly can. I do feel like there is a difference in the artistry and the artistry level and the work that's being put out and curation of brands and of master lash artists that go with the slow burn versus the really quick burnout route.
Yeah. And I mean, if this is your first episode with us, I've talked about it a few times and I'm very open about it, but I learned lashes almost 20 years ago. And I was a solidly crap to mediocre lash artist for 10 of them simply because there was no knowledge. There was no knowledge, there was no education. I did the best I could. I didn't glue everybody's lashes together. Like they didn't grow out looking like spiders. Like it wasn't insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't great because there just was very, very little understanding. And I've learned slow. I've learned slow. I did classic lashes for 12 years. And then I learned volume. And then I did volume lashes for 2.5 years. And then I learned mega volume. And it really, my career, I'm really proud of my career trajectory. I was doing other things while I was doing classic lashes. Like I was doing makeup, I was doing photo shoots. I worked in a salon. I was an esthetician. I like did a lot of other things too. And so I know that like I would never suggest that you take 20 years to get great at your career, but the lessons that I learned in it
Yeah.
over that period of time were so valuable to me that if I had it to go back and do different, I wouldn't do it differently
Mm-hmm.
for myself.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, along with education, I want to dovetail that with we've already kind of been touching on really implementation of the education that you're learning before jumping into your next certificate or like your next education or your next course that you jump into, right? I want to dovetail with the next thing that I would really, really prioritize, maybe more than anything, truthfully, of everything that we've just named. Once you have become a licensed esthetician or in your area a licensed lash artist and you invested in your initial education, your initial class, I would 150% invest in models, taking model sets and the time investment that it takes, even if you are losing money, even if you don't have a full clientele, even if it takes more time out of your schedule, maybe you have to take some time off from your 9 to 5 job, or you have to work really late hours, whatever it may be, experience is something that you can't buy. It's completely free. But I mean, I shouldn't say it's completely free because you're going to be using your product, right? But your time is is what you're going to be investing in that route, and taking models and experience is probably one of the best things that I ever did for my career. What do
The
you
most
think about
successful lash artists I know, outside of like a couple of like industry leaders that have different opinions, the most successful lash artists I've known in my career have been ones that are never afraid to say, I need to take models for free.
that? Mm-hmm.
I need to improve my skill set. I don't need to get paid for this. I need to get better at this. And it's almost like it's you practicing on your own dollar, on your own time, is almost like free education because you will get better at it. You're not even paying for college. You're just learning for free out of experience, and you need to keep doing that. I also know firsthand for a fact that many of the most successful lash artists that you see out there today, whenever they have had to move to a new city or a new state, have
Mm-hmm.
taken their time and their money to do free models until they have a full booked clientele. It's
Even if
not
they're
until they have 3
experienced.
clients, it's until they are fully booked. They will keep taking free models because not only are they continuing to get better on their skill set, but now they have walking billboards out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Models and experience make the biggest difference in your career, including building a clientele,
Yep.
including your experience, or including the skill level and the skill set that you actually end up producing. Like, experience is just top of that list, honestly. And you can do that with just your time and with a minimal amount of product.
Yeah. I mean, like I priced it out. I think like a
Mhm.
classic set costs you personally much less than $10 to do.
Oh, I
A
think it's
volume set
significantly less than 10.
a
Yeah.
volume set. So when I priced it out, I think it was a while ago, but like things haven't changed that much. When I priced it out for myself, I think it was like $4.80 of overhead for me to do a classic set. It was around $7 to do a volume set, and it was around $15 to $17 to do a mega volume set, depending on how many lashes I used from what kind of lash tray. And like that's worth investing in when you get to that point because you don't want to use mega volume lashes that don't fan the way that you need them to. Like it's just don't do it.
Yeah. Okay, last thing, I'm pivoting here, but the last thing that I would say to
Pivot.
prioritize as a brand new, never seen a client before, never taken a client before, like first and foremost, consent forms. Legal in your state consent forms, not from Etsy, not from Google that you're just printing out, actually legally binding, protective consent forms for you in the state that you are working in, for the service that you are doing, specific to the service that you are doing. And that is done before you lay your hands on one single client.
And when you say that, included in that is a liability waiver, right? Wait, I need to add something else onto this.
Okay.
If you're not working for a salon that has liability insurance is one of the first top 10 things that you need to invest in addition to legal consent slash liability waivers.
I would say consent forms and liability, like business insurance for you doing this craft, those are t- I think that that would actually I take back the model thing. I would do that very very first before you ever take a model, before you ever lay your hands on a client ever. You should have business insurance, liability insurance, and you should have consent forms.
Yes.
Working with the public is something that you should never take for granted, especially as an inexperienced learning lash artist, that there are accidents that could possibly happen.
And I don't know if you guys remember, but I mean, it might have been a few years ago now. The girl who was getting her lashes done in somebody's house and her
Mm.
chihuahua jumped up and literally bit her entire eyelid off.
Mhm.
Like, I don't
Anything can
know.
happen.
I don't actually know what happened there, but the average person would probably sue the pants off of you for that. There are things that can happen. Eyeballs can get glued shut. Glue can get dropped on somebody. Like there are liabilities. Even if somebody has a severe allergic reaction, like if they turn around and want to sue you and you don't have any of your bases covered, that is a scary thought, and that should be very motivating. I haven't seen I've seen a handful of horror stories in my career that um really make me stand up and pay attention to a
Mhm.
subject like this.
Yep.
But it is one of the very first things I did when I started doing lashes outside of a salon. The very first thing I did was get insurance.
Absolutely. So with getting insurance, they could the insurance company may need you to be a registered business, whether that's an LLC, sole proprietor, something with your Secretary of State in your area, which could be depending on the state that you're working in. In Oregon, it's $100 fee. In California, I know it's up to $800 to register your business. So that could be something that you might want to look into as well, along with something that's free is separating your business and your personal bank accounts, along with getting your insurance and consent form. So making sure that these are all buttoned up and that you are protected in order to be practicing under an umbrella that is actually protective for you is something that I would do first and foremost before you ever touch a client, before you ever take a client, before you ever take a model, before you're ever like in your lash class. I would say make sure that you are protected with taking clients and putting your hands on clients. You are muted, I think.
Thank you. I was muted. Uh I
She
love
was
that.
talking she was talking, guys, and I was like, "Nope, can't hear it."
I really love round numbers though. So in order for me to do the top 10 at the end here, I need us to have one more thing that we would invest in. Bonus item.
Okay, do you have one off the top of your head?
No, I want you to come up with it.
Okay, okay. Okay, I have it. I would say, particularly because I live in Oregon on the West Coast, which is like our environment for our adhesive changes by the hour. No joke. Our humidity fluctuates and our temperature fluctuates. We have like four seasons every single day. It's crazy here. So I would say one of the biggest investments that I would make too, in order to be able to do my job well, is I would invest in a humidifier and a dehumidifier. if you
Amen.
if you aren't if you aren't familiar with lash science and controlling your lash adhesive, that is something that you need to be able to have control over at any given time in your space is your temperature and your humidity in your space for your adhesive. If you're working with traditional lash adhesive and not a UV curing system, if you are working with a traditional lash adhesive, you do need to have very strict control over your humidity and your temperature in your space. So a dehumidifier and a humidifier is what I would say.
I'm going
With
to add to that and say slash hygrometer so that you can tell
oh,
what your temperature and
sure.
humidity is in there.
Yes, yeah, of course. I would say for me, what my favorite place to get a dehumidifier at is like Lowe's or Home Depot. They have them that are industrial style, like industrial sized. So depending on your square footage of the space in the room or the environment that you're working in, it's per square foot is what your dehumidifier is going to be measured at. So they have some that are like go all the way up from like a tiny like 50 foot square foot, Lord have mercy, 50 square foot room, all the way up to like 10,000 square feet dehumidifiers. Like they have massive industrial, which obviously none of us most likely are going to need to be working with that one that is that strong. But they do have a wide variety, a wide spectrum for you to be able to choose from that is according to your space. A humidifier, in fact, one of my biggest I don't want to say tips or tricks, but one of my biggest things that I loved doing with my humidifier, and it might be controversial, I actually loved working with a diffuser as my humidifier. So I would add an essential oil to my space, which added, it was kind of a two for one. So my humidity would be raising, but I would also be able to have a little bit of aromatherapy and kind of add to my client experience in my space at the same time that I was controlling my temperature. And you can get a diffuser like anywhere. You can get it at Walmart, on Amazon, and they can be really, really aesthetic and look really great in your space too.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to give us the top 10 things
Perfect.
that as a beginner or lash artist on a budget,
Mhm.
you should absolutely be investing in. Okay.
Recap us.
we're recapping. Okay, number 1 is an exceptional adhesive that works in your environment. Number 2 is a proper light situation. There are lots of options out there, but a beauty light of some sort is vital. Number 3 is a mask. Go get that Aura 9205 Plus from 3M. You guys, you need them. Number 4 is quality tweezers, and they can come from a variety of places, but make sure that you pick up your lashes appropriately with them and take good care of them. Number 5 is education without leaping into something too advanced. Make sure that you have people that would recommend the class, that are able to tell you about the experience, and that you are at the correct skill set level for yourself. Number 6 is consent forms, the legal kind, not the kind that you screenshot and replicate off the internet. Number 7 is business and liability insurance, but maybe that's actually number 1. Number 8 is time and practice and model sets. Invest in your time and practice, you guys. Number 9 is separate bank accounts and having a business account. And number 10 is a hygrometer / dehumidifier and humidifier. Vitally important to control your atmosphere and not want to throw your tweezers at a wall when you can't understand why your glue is not sticking to the lashes. Very important.
I think
I
that
am
was a
going to add a
solid
bonus item.
list. Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to add a bonus item.
Bonus number 11. Here we go.
Number 11, my bonus item for what you need to invest in as a lash artist on a budget or a newer lash artist is Erin's retention course, because it will change your entire life. It is the
Aw.
most comprehensive retention course and like physically, chemically, technically correct retention course I have ever experienced. And it's not a break the bank situation. It's an online class. She's made it really affordable for you guys to get the best education, and she has not asked me to plug that. I just believe in it that much, and I know that there are thousands of people whose careers and lives it has changed, and you could be one of them. So that's number 11, the bonus item. Go take Erin's retention course.
Oh, I love you so much, friend. Thank you. I so
I love you
appreciate
too.
you and your kind words. Okay, you guys, I think that wraps up our 11-point list. I'm so happy that we did this. This was such an important episode, I feel like. Lash artists, especially nowadays, either whether you are, new getting into this industry or whether you are on a budget, our economy is changing a lot. So if you're needing to either cut down or figure out what needs to be prioritized budget-wise in your lash business, this is a phenomenal list that you can keep coming back to and re-listen to if you need to. Even if you just need to come back to like the last 3 minutes of this episode and just hear Tress's recap of that list, come back to it. We will see you guys on the next episode. We love you so
guys.
much.